boys and girls, this is Ms. Horvath. So yesterday, we talked about the 3 different types of graphs. We talked about tally charts, picture graphs, and bar graphs. And we talked about how all of these graphs help us organize and represent data. Well, did you know that graphs also help us compare data? Well, that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to talk about how graphs help us compare data. Before we do that, I want to point out 2 important questions. How many more? How many fewer? Both of these questions are asking us to compare. Let me give you an example. On this page, you see some yellow crayons and some green crayons. Which color crayon are there more of? Yellow or green? Well, we see that there are 5 yellow crayons and 3 green crayons. 5 is more than 3. That means there are more yellow crayons. But how many more crayons? How many more yellow than green? Well, if you look at the picture, you can see that there are 2 more yellow crayons than there are green crayons. So the answer to how many more crayons is 2. There are 2 extra yellow crayons. Another way you can solve this is by subtracting. You can take 5, take away 3, which equals 2. 2 more yellow crayons than green crayons. Let's do another example. Are there more yellow crayons or green crayons? Well, we see that there are 3 yellow crayons and 6 green crayons. 6 is more than 3. So there are more green crayons than yellow crayons. But how many more? How many extra green crayons are there? Well, if you look at the picture, you see there are 3 extra green crayons. There are 3 more green crayons than yellow crayons. And again, to solve this, you can subtract. 6 take away 3 equals 3. There are 3 more green crayons than yellow crayons. Let's do an example with the question, how many fewer? So again, we have some yellow crayons and some green crayons. Are there fewer means a smaller amount? Are there fewer green crayons or yellow crayons? Well, we see that there are 6 yellow crayons and 2 green crayons. So which color crayon do we have less of? We have fewer green crayons. But how many fewer green crayons are there than yellow crayons? Well, if you look at the picture, you'll see there are 4 extra yellow crayons. That means there are 4 fewer green crayons. And again, this is a question you can solve by subtracting. Take the bigger number, 6, take away 2, which equals 4. There are 4 fewer green crayons than yellow crayons? Let's do one more. The question says, how many fewer? Well, we have some yellow crayons and green crayons. I see 3 yellow and 5 green. So which color do we have less of? Fewer means less of, or a smaller amount of. Well, 3 is less than 5. That means there are fewer yellow crayons than green crayons. But how many fewer yellow crayons? Well, you'll see there are 2 extra green crayons. That means there are 2 fewer yellow crayons. And again, you can solve this by subtracting. Take the big number, 5, take away 3, equals 2. There are 2 fewer yellow crayons than green crayons. Great job. So let's try to answer those questions with graphs. Here's our tally chart, which we looked at yesterday. The question says, how many more people liked bicycles than skateboards? So we're comparing the number of people who like bicycles to the number of people who like skateboards. Well, let's look at the tally chart. We know 7 people like bicycles and 5 people liked skateboards. We know more people chose bicycles, but how many more? Well, to answer the question, we can subtract. Take the bigger number, 7, take away 5, equals 2. There were 2 more people who chose bicycles than people who chose skateboards. And you can even see that by looking at the tally marks. Do you see how there are 2 extra tally marks compared to the tally marks for skateboards? There were 2 more people who like bicycles than skateboards. Good work. Here's a picture graph, and we looked at the same picture graph yesterday. The question asks, how many fewer people liked basketball than baseball? So in this question, we are comparing people who like basketball to the people who liked baseball. So for basketball, there were 4 people who liked basketball, and we know that by counting the pictures. And for baseball, there were 6. 6 people chose baseball. We know that fewer people chose basketball because 4 is less than 6. But how many fewer people chose basketball than baseball? Well, again, we can subtract. Take the bigger number, 6, take away 4, equals 2. So the answer is 2. 2 fewer people chose basketball than baseball. You can even see that within the picture. So let me erase these numbers real quick. Take a look at the picture here. See how there are 2 extra baseballs than basketballs? Well, that tells us there were 2 fewer people who chose basketball than baseball. Or you can say there were 2 more people who chose baseball than basketball. But the answer to our question is 2. 2 fewer people. Good work. One more. So here's our bar graph, which we looked at yesterday. Our question is, how many more how many more yellow pencils than blue pencils? I think we looked at this bar graph yesterday. I don't remember. I think we did. But the question says, how many more yellow pencils than blue pencils? So we're comparing yellow to blue. Let's look at our bar graph. We can see that there are 6 yellow pencils. And let's look at blue. 4 blue pencils. 6 is more than 4, so we know there are more yellow pencils, but how many more? Well, again, we can subtract to find the answer. Take the bigger number, 6, take away 4, and that equals 2. 2 more people, or not people, there were 2 more yellow pencils than blue pencils. And you can even see it in the bar graph. If you look at the picture, you can see that there are 2 extra yellow pencils. So there were 2 more yellow pencils than blue pencils. Good job, boys and girls. When you're ready, move on to the next slide where you'll answer some questions. All right, good luck.